This whole thing is about control. Every ounce of this playbook is about power and control. So how do you counter it? You keep a fucking journal. You write shit down all the time. You save texts, emails, and voicemails. You document the truth. Now, here is the most important piece of this. This is for you, not for them. This is not so that you then turn to them and say, no, see, you did say that. It even says it right here. Look, here's the screenshot. They don't care about the truth. They don't care about the truth. They care about power and control. It's not countering him. It's countering this in your brain. It's countering this for yourself.
Welcome to the Divorce Survival Guide podcast, where we have open and honest conversations about co-parenting, separation, divorce, and the hardest question of all, should you stay or should you go? I'm Kate Anthony, your divorce survival guide, and I'm here to help you navigate some of the roughest waters you've ever swum in and answer some of your toughest questions. I've been to hell and back, and now it's my mission in life to help you get to the other side of this process with your sanity and your heart intact.
Hey everyone, welcome back. So it's been a while, I think, since I've done a solo episode. So here I am, and I want to talk to you about something that I said to a client recently. I said, since there is a playbook for them, meaning really the narcissist's playbook, right? If you have been in an emotionally abusive, narcissistic, coercive, controlling relationship, you know that there's this narcissist playbook. You may not know that, actually. What's interesting is, I know that because I hear women's stories all day, every day. And they very, only in minor ways do they divert from each other. They're very similar. When you're in it, you're so confused. The gaslighting, just the mental and emotional toll of the experience and the isolation of the experience makes you feel like A, nobody understands this, B, nobody would believe it if you told them, and C, that you're really alone and there must be something wrong with you. And the facts of the matter are, the main fact is this: you're not alone. This playbook, everything that you are experiencing is essentially a playbook, and they are all operating out of the same fucking playbook. And sitting in my seat, I have this objective view of all of these stories. And I can tell you that there is a predictable pattern. This is a playbook. They all operate the same. And because there is a playbook for them, there's also a playbook for you. And that's what I want to talk about today. I want to talk about your playbook, right? If their playbook is so fucking predictable, then we can craft an equally predictable playbook for you. And I'm going to do that with you now. This sort of started in I don't know if you guys have seen it, but I have we'll link to it in the show notes. I have a bingo card for how they tend to react when you tell them that you want a divorce. So this is the first inkling of sort of this playbook when in my work, as I was working with clients, when I would say to my clients, okay, so here, we're crafting the conversation about how you're going to tell your spouse that you want to get a divorce. That's a very specific conversation. I have a blog post about it. I have podcast episodes about it. If you Google my name and how to tell your husband you want a divorce, you're going to find a lot of information because I talk about it a lot. And it's one of the most important pieces of this to sort of kick this whole thing off on the right foot. So once I've worked with clients to craft this conversation, to script it, we then go through how they're going to react, because that's obviously, you can tee up a conversation, but if you don't tee up your responses to their reactions to that conversation, you're gonna run into some serious roadblocks and you might be dead in the water. So we've got to prep for the reaction. And the reaction follows a very predictable pattern. Again, it's a playbook. And when I would tell my clients, you can absolutely rely on the fact that, when you wake up tomorrow, all of the jobs that you've been asking him to do in the house are going to get done. We can predict that they will start, begging and pleading and crying. They will absolutely now want to go to therapy, despite the fact that you've been asking them for 3 years and they have always said that they don't believe in therapy. All of these things, right? The next week, when I talk to my clients, they're like, how did you know? They're like, that's kind of creepy. It's like you are a prophet. And I'm like, no, it's just a playbook. It's just that I've spoken to so many thousands of women about this that I know that they all react the same. So I have a bingo card for it. And look, it's like, it's a little cheeky, right? But if we can infuse a little bit of humor into the process, then great. I'm all about that. But also it's like, oh my gosh, look at it. Look at that. It's right there. Kate totally said this was going to happen. Oh my God, right? If you can check it off a bingo card, then you're not alone. Part of me crafting playbooks for women is based on my understanding of the predictable patterns that their spouses and abusers follow. So here's how we're going to do this. We are going to look through what's their playbook, and then how are we going to counter that? I've created about 10 things that are in their playbook, and I'm going to talk you through them, each one just in a little bit of detail, and then talk to you about what your job is. Now, what's their playbook, and now what is my playbook, right? How do I respond? So the first one is love bombing and future faking, right? So what's that look like? Look, in the beginning of the relationship, it might be like the rush of affection, the immediate perfect life, my soulmate, all of that stuff, right? Then over time, love bombing and future faking really are not as overt. They're not as over the top. It might be that after every major fight or betrayal or abusive incident, they flip it around. They bring you flowers. There's a surprise dinner. They take responsibility. I know it's my fault. I promise I'll change, right? They're going to use some apologies and grand gestures to try to wipe the slate clean. But then you'll notice over time that they actually don't make any behavior changes. It also might be just a sweeping of under the rug, right? Sweeping whatever happened under the rug like it never happened. They're nicer. They might bring you coffee, right? But there may not be grand gestures. Just might be, just acts of kindness, subtle reminders of good times to hook you back in. The way that you feel when this is happening is you might feel relief. You might feel confusion. You might feel hope, right? Oh, good. Okay, they finally get it. They're finally trying. But what it is an opportunity. They're trying to get you hooked and reinforce the trauma bond, right? A trauma bond is the dopamine hit, is the addiction to the dopamine hit that you get in the reconciliation phase of the cycle of abuse. So how do you counter this? What if that is part of their playbook? What is your playbook? Yours is you're going to watch for actions sustained over time. You're not falling for promises, right? One of my favorite things that my son ever said to my ex-husband at the age of 16, when he had done something pretty disastrous, my ex-husband, and he came to my son and he apologized for lying, and he was like, I promise I'm never going to lie to you again, and I'm really going to do better, all this stuff. And my son, 16 years old, looked his father dead in the eye and goes, we'll see. And my ex was like, fair, you know? So I want you to take a page from my son's book. When they apologize, we'll see, right? And then watch. I want you to keep a log of promises versus patterns. This is how you track empty apologies. And then I want you to try to slow things down, right? Are they actually changing? Because if they're actually changing, they're not going to rush you. Anyone who says, I'm healed now, or I see the light now, or I'm better now, that's not changing. That is why can't you just forget it? I said, I'm sorry. They're not changing. They're trying to rush you past it. And then I want you to talk it through with someone you trust, right? Is this the same old cycle, or is there actually growth happening here? This is a great conversation for your therapist, for your best friend, for your coach. When they're doing all of these things, it's actually a form of gaslighting, which we're going to talk about in a second. But you kind of need a reality check. You kind of need someone else to point out, like, he's apologized for that 7 times. If he was sorry, he wouldn't do it anymore. So the next page in their playbook is gaslighting. So what does this look like? In the beginning, it might be little things like, I never said that. You must have misunderstood me. Over time, in the context of a long-term marriage, right? They might tell you you're crazy. They might tell you something never happened. You're imagining things. They deny their affairs. They deny their lies. They deny their financial betrayals. They hide things and then they blame you for losing them. The definition of gaslighting is not just about lying. The definition of gaslighting is that they lie for the express purpose of making you doubt your own reality. So whatever that looks like to you, when you start to think that you might be crazy, they're probably being gaslit. More covert versions of this. My mother is queen of this. I was just joking. You have no sense of humor. Well, no, that's actually not a joke, right? For years, I was like, I guess I don't have a sense of humor. I guess there's something wrong with me. If she was just joking, I guess I don't understand humor. No, it's not fucking funny. Like snide comments and criticisms about my body, like all of that, not funny. When you start to second guess yourself, right? Or when he turns to your kids and goes, Mommy's just stressed. Don't worry about her. Mommy's not stressed. Mommy is like losing her mind because she's being gaslit. Okay. So it feels like you're losing your mind. It feels like you can't trust your own memory. It feels like you're always having to gather proof, but you can't remember the proof because you're so fucking confused all the time. They're doing this to make you doubt yourself so that they can remain in control. This whole thing is about control. Every ounce of this playbook is about power and control. So how do you counter it? You keep a fucking journal. You write shit down all the time. You save texts, emails, and voicemails. You document the truth. Now, here is the most important piece of this. This is for you, not for them. This is not so that you then turn to them and say, no, see, you did say that. It even says it right here. Look, here's the screenshot. They don't care about the truth. They don't care about the truth. They care about power and control. So you show them the screenshot and they are going to somehow turn it into, oh my God, I can't believe you're keeping screenshots of the things that I say. What the fuck is wrong with you? That's so disgusting and disturbed, right? And now we're talking about something entirely different. It's not countering him. It's countering this in your brain. It's countering this for yourself. You want to, and this is where that reality check with someone that you trust that we talked about when we were talking about the love bombing. Keep a reality check with someone that you trust and someone to say to you, you are not crazy. You are not crazy. He's doing this to you, right? And I want you to remind yourself using the mantra, I know what I know. I know what I know. Again, this is for you, not to counter what they're doing. All of this is to keep you safe, not necessarily keep you in the relationship. And I think that's a really, really, really important piece of this, is that so often women will take information like this and then use it to explain to their abuser why they should stop abusing them. I want you to keep this information for yourself. This isn't to keep you in your marriage. This is to keep you safe and likely get out of this. Abusers don't change. They just shapeshift. There's no point at which they go, oh, I see. Whatever I've been doing has been for power and control, and I don't want that. Yes, they do. And that's the hardest thing for us to wrap our heads around, to be able to understand what this is. Okay, so more on the playbook. Number 3, projection. This is what this looks like. In the beginning, they're going to hint at your issues while maybe positioning themselves as the stable one. God, it seems like you're really insecure, right? There might be some negging that goes along here. Over time, in a long-term relationship, they're going to accuse you of cheating when they are. They're going to call you selfish while draining you dry. They are going to, especially with a narcissist, right? A narcissist who has no self-esteem, and they're trying to get their self-worth from you, and you are failing at that job because it's not your fucking job. They are going to blame you. They're going to say, and you're exhausted and you can't give anymore and you're kind of done trying. And then you kind of just like throw up your hands and you just stop trying altogether. And then you are cold and you are unsympathetic and you are just not giving yourself to the marriage. Fucking bullshit. You've been giving everything. You've given so much that you don't have anything left. That's projection. They also will blame you for lying while they're hiding things and lying to you. More covert versions of this might be sort of subtle questions like, are you sure you're not overreacting? Is this really about like your daddy issues? Or my favorite, do you have your period? Are you PMSing? Is this just menopause? Fuck you. So it feels like you're always on trial. Like you have to defend yourself 24/7. Like nothing you're giving is good enough, and you're defending yourself. Like you're so busy defending yourself that you're not actually looking to see what they're actually doing, right? So that's the purpose. This is why they do it, to distract you from what they're doing and to make you doubt your instincts. So how do we counter this? We see their projections and their accusations as confessions. A narcissist, all of their accusations are confessions. Let's back this up. Let's take a look at the Republican Party. Let's take a look at our narcissist in chief. Everything he accuses everybody else of doing, he's fucking doing every time. The playbook is so obvious at this point. So whenever they start to accuse you of things, just know that they're confessing to what they're doing. They're showing you who they really are. How do you counter this? Respond minimally. Again, they're not looking for the truth. You just need to make one statement, which is, actually, that's not true. Or I'm sorry you feel that way, but that's actually not true. And you need to know it in your heart, right? It's literally not true. It's as if someone is like, you have green hair. And if in fact you don't have green hair, you're going to be like, I do not have green hair, but thanks. And you're going to walk away thinking that person's maybe a little crazy. You're going to save your energy for what matters, which is your own truth. So number 4 in the abusers and narcissist playbook is triangulation. This is, So this one gets me every time. At the beginning, right, it looks like they might be dropping some hints about exes, right? My ex was so jealous. You're not like that. Or my ex was kind of crazy. In the marriage, in a long-term relationship, they're going to compare you to other people. They're going to tell you what other people think to kind of isolate you. Oh, my ex was so good at this. It was, well, I was talking to so-and-so and he really thinks that you have a problem with that too. And by the way, no, he didn't. He didn't talk to those people, probably. But in the moment, I sure thought he was talking to other people and that everyone else saw me as the problem the way he did. He might turn your parents, your kids against you, right? Telling stories out of school, just sort of talking to other people, being like, you know what, she's kind of crazy and she's been doing these things, right? It's this triangulation. My mom does this a lot with, so my fiance, Ethan, he learned the hard way. And I had to be like, I told you that that's what she does, right? Where she'll come to me and she'll ask me something and I'll say no. But then she'll go to she would do this with my ex-husband. She'll do it with my son. Now she does it. She tries to do it with Ethan. And she'll be like, wait, Ethan, maybe we should blah, blah, blah. And Ethan, not knowing any better or different and wanting to make an impression on his future mother-in-law, is like, oh, that's okay. That's great. Let me talk to Kate about that. And then he talks to me and I'm like, oh my God, I already told her no. And he's like, oh shit. So he has learned to never make a plan or anything with her without talking to me first. She is a master triangulator. So this is how it works sort of long term. The more covert version, innocent seeming gossip that might stir up insecurity. Everyone says you're difficult lately. Like if other people have noticed, that kind of thing. It makes you feel lonely and paranoid and like you are competing for their attention or approval. It makes you feel like your partner's not on your side. They're kind of out to get you. And why do they do it? Again, to control the narrative, to keep you off balance, to keep you defending yourself against weird accusations that are not true, to make you feel isolated and alone, like you can't trust your closest friends and family members. So how do we counter this? We counter this by refusing to play the triangle game. We're going to speak directly to the people ourselves. We're going to say, hey, my so-and-so, like my husband said that you guys talked about this or said this about me. Is this true? Do it. Ask directly. Don't defend yourself to the flying monkeys. Right? So if he, flying monkeys from the Wizard of Oz, if they're sending out some flying monkeys to do his bidding, to make you feel like you're not enough, you're what a blah, 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 you don't need to defend yourself to them. You know your truth. You know who you are. You know this is bullshit. And you might say, hey, I'm really sorry that you feel that way about me. I'm really disappointed to hear that, you are taking so-and-so's word about me over your experience of me over the last 15 years, but that's not true. Now, look, if you're still in a marriage with this person and you're still trying to make things work, it's harder to do that, right? Because you're actually still emotionally invested. This gets a lot easier when the emotional investment is waning. The other way you counter this is by protecting your children. You do not badmouth the other parent, even when they do it. I say this a lot. I talk about this a lot. Eventually, your kids are going to figure it out. Eventually, your kids will come to you and go, it's really weird how dad always says all these shitty things about you, but you never say anything negative about him. That doesn't mean that you gloss over it. It doesn't mean you don't address it. If your kids come to you and say, Dad said this about you, you say, I'm really sorry that he said that. What do you think? Do you think I'm that way? And then when they say no, because, they don't, you say, okay, listen, I'm sorry that Dad is saying those things to you. That must be really confusing. And I just want you to know that you should trust yourself and your own instincts and you can always come to me and ask me questions, right? So you're not bad-mouthing the other parent, but you are setting the record straight, and that's fine. Number 5 in the playbook is hoovering. Here's what it looks like. Hoovering. So outside of the marriage, when you try to leave or separate, they are trying to suck you back in. Hoover is like, you know what a Hoover is? I don't know if you guys are too young to remember that Hoover used to be the only vacuum brand. Now we have so many, but we should call it Dysoning now, maybe. When you try to leave or separate, they're trying to suck you back in. I can't live without you. I'll change. I'll go to therapy. They fake emergencies. They use the kids to reel you back in. Inside the marriage, when you set a boundary or you pull away, they're going to turn on the charm. You're right. I'll go to therapy. I'll stop drinking. Right now, they're suddenly the perfect partner. They're loving, they're generous, attentive, but it doesn't last. When they realize that your boundaries are real, they suddenly flip a switch and everything is great and they're perfect and blah, blah, blah. Well, first of all, I want you to recognize that if they could flip that switch and they haven't been flipping that switch for 20 years, then they just didn't fucking think they had to. They thought they could keep getting away with it. And when they flip that switch, it never lasts. It can't last. So just know that if they suddenly feel like the perfect partner again, first of all, they didn't have any respect for you for all of this time to be the perfect partner that you deserved all of this time. And secondly, in 2 weeks, it'll be gone, especially if you continue to hold a boundary, because they're really doing it to try to make you not hold the boundary. But if you continue to hold the boundary, they will drop that mask as fast as possible. The more covert version is, oh, old photos. And like, remember when we used to go, they'll suddenly start texting you pictures of your the happier times or whatever. Or, they'll leave random love notes after months of neglect. They'll like, oh my God, I had a client whose ex kept leaving love notes on her car. Like every day she'd go to the car and there would be love notes on her car. And she was like in the middle of divorcing this man. It was fucking insanity. How does it feel? It feels like a relief from the constant pain. It feels like, oh my God, everything's okay again. Or I'm okay again until the recycle repeats itself. They do it because they're losing their control. They're losing supply. And the threat of losing you forces them to do just enough to pull you back in. How do you counter this? Our playbook: keep your distance emotionally. Keep those walls up. Delay your responses because time exposes patterns. So don't respond yet. Don't respond when they say, I've changed. Everything is amazing and I'm going to go to therapy and blah, 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 blah. Don't respond. See what happens when you don't. The pattern will reveal itself. Keep a reasons I left list for moments of weakness. I also want you to keep a list of, it's really easy to keep a list of like all the bad times. Keep a list of all the good times and what was also happening behind the scenes. We had a great vacation in Mexico and we were so bonded and connected and he was so happy and joyous. Turns out it's because he was sexting with some woman back at home the whole time. So even the good times tend to be tainted. And so make a list of all the good, because when he starts to send you memories of the good times, you can go, yeah, but he was also cheating on me. That was not a good time, actually. And again, we're going to talk to trusted people who see the bigger picture: your therapist, your coach, your family members, your trusted inner circle, the people who are there to hold you to account to what it is that you actually want for yourself in your life. Are you feeling stuck, overwhelmed, or unsure about your next step in the divorce process? You don't have to do this alone, my love. If you're listening to this podcast, you already know that I am a pioneer in the divorce coaching industry, and that for over a decade, I've helped hundreds of women navigate some of the toughest decisions of their lives. Until recently, I only worked with clients in a long-term private capacity. But I know that not everyone needs or has the ability to commit to long-term coaching. Sometimes you just need clear, focused strategies to move forward. That's why I now offer targeted 3-session strategy packages designed to give you the clarity, direction, and confidence you need without the long-term commitment. Whether you're deciding whether to stay or go, uncovering and healing from abuse, or dealing with a high-conflict divorce, I will help you create a clear roadmap, develop a plan to work with your attorney, saving you time and money, and help you navigate difficult conversations with ease. All coaching is done on Zoom, so no matter where you are, we can work together. No consultation call is needed. Just fill out a quick questionnaire and I'll get you all set up. Head on over to kateanthony.com/strategy and take the first step toward a stronger, more empowered future today. That's kateanthony.com/strategy. And I'll talk to you soon. Number 6 in their playbook: smear campaigns. So what does this look like? At the beginning, not a whole lot, right? They'll save it for when you resist them. They're not doing anything in the beginning of a relationship to smear you. But over time, in a long-term relationship or a marriage, There are going to be subtle digs to mutual friends, like, oh my God, she's so emotional. I know she hasn't really been well lately. Or overt attacks, right? She's unstable. She's abusing me. This is part of the triangulation. They twist your reactions into evidence. This is the classic one that I've shared with you guys a number of times about how my ex-husband like drove me to the brink one day of like, I was trying to leave and he was blocking me. He took my car keys. He made me stay in the house. I was saying, I'm triggered. I need to walk. I'm triggered. I need to get out. I'm triggered. I need to get away. And he was blocking the door and taunting me and stopping me from getting away. And I lost my fucking shit. And then he stood back and was like, wow, you're really crazy. And then got to tell everybody that I had like slammed a cabinet door and the glass broke. And like, you know, I was really abusive because I had slammed a door and broke the glass. The more covert version of this is pray for her because she's really struggling right now. It feels infuriating and unfair, like you need to defend your reputation everywhere you go. By the way, you don't. Which we'll get to. And they do it to discredit you before you expose them, to isolate you from your allies. They are smearing you. This is the ultimate act of triangulation. So now everyone is on his side before you even get to them. So anything that you have on them and that you might tell other people looks vindictive, crazy, all of those things. So how do we counter it? Our playbook. Don't chase every rumor. Absolutely not. Don't, just remember it's none of your business what other people think of you. And if people believe the rumors, they're not your people to begin with. If somebody could actually believe something terrible about you without coming to you and being like, hey, so-and-so's saying this thing about you. I want to check in with you. Are you okay? Like, that's not your friend. Your friends are going to be like, first of all, fuck off. No, she's not. She's awesome. Or come to you and be like, hey, I want to check in with you because I'm hearing this stuff and it doesn't sound good. Are you okay? Those are your people. And you're going to let your calm consistency speak louder than any fucking rumor and smear campaign that they may be waging against you. And you're going to be also keeping evidence in case you need it in court. You are going to be documenting the shit out of this. You're going to, look, rumors, all of that, that's hearsay. That's not the point. But the point is you might need something. You might need as evidence of a smear campaign. And, so-and-so came to me and said this to me or things like that. I just want you I want you in these cases to document far more than you're ever going to need, but do it in a way that you can search, file, organize so that it's not like just like an overwhelming mess. And documentation is a whole other conversation, but document everything. And you might use 10% of what you document, but you'll be glad you had it. So number 7, threats and intimidation. What this looks like. At the beginning, again, rare, they're still pretending to be perfect. In a longer term relationship or marriage, they're going to threaten to ruin you financially. They're going to threaten to take the kids. They're going to threaten to destroy your reputation, sometimes physical intimidation or breaking things, slamming doors. The more covert version, you're going to regret this. You start to step out of line and you get really clear messages of intimidation. It could be that they're standing across the room from you and you see their fist ball up, their hand ball up into a fist. If you feel threatened and intimidated by that, that is a threat and an act of intimidation. It feels terrifying. It feels paralyzing. It feels like you're trapped. You feel like a caged animal. And they do it because fear gives them power. They want to scare you into compliance. You have to remember also that this is why when you leave is the most dangerous point in a relationship. Because all the covert things that they have been doing all of this time, everything else that is in this playbook maybe hasn't worked. Because now you're leaving. So now they have to escalate into threats and intimidation, which tend to be far more overt than covert. They're trying to scare you into compliance. And the more subtle acts haven't worked. So now they have to amp it up. So how do we counter this? Our playbook. You document everything. As I said, you fucking document it. You talk to a DV advocate or an attorney early. When you talk to your attorney, you tell them exactly the level of intimidation and threats that you are receiving. I've talked to a lot of clients who are like, well, I didn't really talk to my attorney about that because I didn't want them. There's a fear that if you tell your attorney these things, they're going to get more aggressive. And then that will escalate the abuse and the post-separation abuse. And so you want to talk to your attorney about it. You absolutely always want to tell your attorney about acts of intimidation or threats. And you want to say to your attorney, and I don't want you to escalate things. We have to be very careful about this. And you want to make sure that you're working with an attorney who actually has training in dealing with domestic violence cases. You must take all threats seriously. You must plan for safety. You've got to create a safety plan. I have one outlined in my book. If you buy my Divorce Survival Guide resources and the planner, you will see a lot of stuff on this in there. But I do have a safety plan in there as well. But it is also in my book. So when they escalate to this level, you've got to take it very seriously. Our playbook is you kind of shut down emotionally to them. You put your head down and you start acting strategically by documenting, talking to an advocate. I am an advocate, so I work in this way with my clients. This is part of what I do, is this strategy for safety. If you're experiencing this, you probably want to grab some focused strategy sessions with me so that we can make a safety plan for you. It's very serious. Number 8 in their playbook, stonewalling and the silent treatment. Sometimes that feels like a real good thing. Right? So at the beginning, what this looks like is subtly withdrawing for a day to make a point, right? They're just displeased with you, so they're not going to text you back for a few hours or a day or two. In a longer term relationship, they're going to shut you out for days or weeks to punish you. They're not going to talk about problems. They're going to ignore your texts. They're going to withhold affection until you beg. Till you come to them and say, what's wrong, honey? I don't understand what's going on. Why is this such a problem? Yada, 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 yada. You're begging. You're begging for love. If you find yourself begging for love, you're being stonewalled in some way. The more covert version, right? A little more emotional coldness, like they're there physically, but they're absent emotionally. It feels lonely. It feels like you're walking on eggshells. It feels like you're desperate to fix things, even when you didn't break them. You start turning yourself into a pretzel and contorting yourself to like be okay again. And they do it because it keeps you anxious and you're striving for their approval. And it punishes you without direct conflict. And again, sometimes that's all they need to do. They don't need to do the more overt versions of this because they've just sort of withdrawn your love and now you're chasing after them. So we have a power imbalance immediately. Our playbook, how we counter this is we see it for what it is. We see it as manipulation and we don't chase them. We stay grounded with your own support system. You go to Al-Anon meetings, you go to therapy, you come to coaching session, you join your other support group, Phoenix Rising, whatever. You get your emotional needs met somewhere else. You're like a rock. You can gray rock them with this too, but you're just kind of like an oak tree. You're deeply planted roots and you're not fucking playing. You're not fucking playing. And you communicate only when necessary, and you're going to keep it factual and about the children. You're not taking the bait. Okay. Number 9 in their playbook, baiting and rage. What this looks like at the beginning, it's again rare, right? They're on their best behavior. Over time in the marriage, they're poking your insecurities. They're pushing your buttons. They're provoking fights. And then when you blow up, when you freak the fuck out because they've been poking at you, then you're crazy. This is what my ex did to me. See? Wow, you have an anger problem. The more covert version of this is snide comments, jokes at your expense. Right? Then acting shocked when you get upset. They'll make fun of you, publicly or privately. And then when you get mad or upset or hurt, they'll be like, what the fuck is your problem? You're so sensitive. It feels infuriating. It feels exhausting. And it feels like you're always the bad guy or there's something wrong with you. Or like, again, like your partner is not on your team. They do this to paint you as unstable or abusive, and they do it to justify their own behavior. So how you counter this, our playbook, you recognize the bait. You pause before reacting. Walk out of the room. Don't respond to the text. See it for what it is. It's manipulation. You're going to keep any response that you do give neutral and brief. And if needed, of course, you're going to document these patterns for legal protection. Their rage, yes, you're going to document that 100%. But again, these things can be subjective, because then, what if you've acted? The other thing is that we react badly in the face of this. And then when we react badly, it's like, are they documenting that? Like, well, she slammed a cabinet door and broke glass all over our kitchen. Well, yeah, I did do that. Amber Heard, great example of this, but it's not the same. Amber Heard was not abusive. She was reacting to being abused defensively. And yeah, we behave really fucking badly when we're being abused. So this is where we start to, the gaslighting, right? This baiting and rage. When we take this bait, we're being gaslit into believing that we're the abusers. If you do not have power and control in the relationship, you're not the abuser. If you're behaving badly in the relationship, it's possible that you are being abused and you're reacting in a way that makes perfect fucking sense for someone who's being abused. Okay, number 10, the last of their playbook. Well, it's not the last. There's plenty more, but we're going to keep it for our purposes to 10. Financial abuse. So what does this look like? At the beginning, it might be really subtle. Maybe they offer to handle the money. Maybe they're like, you know what? I don't want you to work. I want to take care of you. This might look like, oh my God, honey, you're so much better at like those sorts of things. You're better at making money. Why don't, I'm going to do my dream project and I'm going to start this business and whatever else, right? Making you either fully responsible financially or have zero power financially. During the course of the marriage, right? Controlling bank accounts, hiding money, sabotaging your job, punishing you financially if you try to leave by draining accounts, withholding child support. During a marriage, I see this a lot. Being willfully underemployed, where they're doing a startup. You're making enough money to support the family, so they're just going to sort of support their dreams, or like they can't hold down a job because of their ADHD or whatever the fuck it is. They're making you solely responsible financially, and they're not picking up the domestic labor. They are perfectly capable of working. Your kids are old enough, or maybe they're not. And maybe you're working a job, making all the money, and then coming home and also taking care of the kids while he's downstairs playing video games. That is also financial abuse. The covert versions they're guilt tripping you for spending. You're so irresponsible with money. A client of mine her husband paid the mortgage and the household stuff, and she was responsible. She was 100% responsible for all of the children's, anything to do with the children. Daycare, diapers, literally food for the children, everything. But she was also a stay-at-home mom. She didn't have her own money, and he gave her an allowance that was insufficient to cover those things. And then she went into tremendous amounts of debt trying to cover all those expenses. And then she was told that he didn't want to share money with her because she was financially irresponsible because of, look at all the debt that she racked up. Are you fucking kidding me right now? Those are examples of financial abuse. You feel trapped, you feel powerless, you feel afraid to spend on essentials, or you feel the pressure and the burden of having to be the breadwinner and the childcare provider and while they're playing video games. They do it because money is control. So they're keeping you financially stuck. It keeps you with them. If they are financially abusing you by withholding money, they're holding you prisoner. They're holding you captive. If they are financially abusing you by under-earning, they're also keeping you trapped. They're also keeping you stuck. Because if you leave, then you're going to have to pay them gobs and gobs and gobs of spousal support. There's a difference between a stay-at-home mom who leaves and gets spousal support because she has actually been supporting the family and by being home with the children. And by and large, not in all cases, but by and large, there have been studies done that show that, quote, stay-at-home dads actually don't do the domestic labor required of the job. They play video games. Not all men, but by and large, that is what happens. And so then when you have to pay spousal support to somebody who's playing video games all day, it kind of feels a certain way. It also keeps you stuck. So how do you counter this? What is our playbook? You quietly gather financial records and account information as much as you possibly can. I have lots of information, lots of podcast episodes and all sorts of stuff with Tracy Conan about this, about how to find as much information as you possibly can. Quietly, before you say anything, you're going into stealth mode now. You're going to start a separate account and you're going to start stashing some of your money in there. You will disclose this when you get divorced in your financial disclosures. You will have to disclose this money, but you will actually have money to have access to. And that's what's most important. And you're going to work with a financial advisor and a lawyer to protect your rights and protect your money. One of the things I see so often in divorce is financial abusers don't want to do financial disclosures in divorce. And they'll just sort of kick the can down the road. It doesn't work. They have to do it. And if you file a motion to compel, again, calling them on their bluff, call their bluff and file a motion to compel, and a judge will ream them. Fucking do it. If you don't do it, you're in contempt of court, and then there's going to be a fine. And if you have to take them back to court, then you ask for your attorney's fees to be covered because of it. You're only having to do this because of their lack of action. So I want you to call their bluff at every fucking turn. And this is where, finding yourself in this process is so important. And really one of the only ways to do that is to be out of the house, to be away from them. Because all of these tactics that they're using in their playbook, right? Their playbook is keep you under their thumb. Keep power and control. And your playbook is get out from under their thumb and start building back your sense of self so that you can be emotionally distanced enough from them so that their power and control tactics hold no fucking water for you. They're lobbing grenades and they're just falling on the ground and not detonating. I mean, that is the essence of our playbook. Is any grenade that they lob, it doesn't hit us and it just falls to the ground and it doesn't detonate and we walk away. That's our playbook. So they have their playbook for control, but you have one for your freedom. You are never as powerless as they want you to believe. I want you to take all of this. I also want you to, there is a download. If you go to kateanthony.com/playbook, you will be able to sign up for a download that will outline all of this for you so that you can, if you've been trying to scramble, writing notes, don't worry. I got you. And I want you to download that so that you have it and you can keep it, and you can keep it as a fucking reminder that you are never as powerless as they want you to believe. This is about taking your power back. So remember, if there is a playbook for them, there is a playbook for you. And I've just given it to you.
Thanks for tuning in to another episode of the Divorce Survival Guide podcast. If you like what you hear, head on over to Apple Podcasts or wherever you listen in and leave me a review. And don't forget to follow me on Instagram at the Divorce Survival Guide. I'll see you next time. And until then, remember, you, my love, deserve to be happy.